Bugatti Mistral, one of the most exclusive convertible hypercars ever built. Only 99 exist on this entire planet. And Alex G wanted one. He had the money. He had the relationships. He already owned 2 Bugattis, which means this was not a first conversation. This was a continuation of an existing relationship with one of the most exclusive automotive brands in the world. And Bugatti said no. Not because the money was not there. Not because the relationship was not there. Not because Alex G was not the kind of owner Bugatti builds cars for. They just said no. Quiet. Clean. No explanation. No conversation. One door. Closed. And that decision, that single quiet corporate no that lasted about 30 seconds and was probably forgotten by the person who made it before they finished their next coffee, started a chain of events that ends with me standing in a Miami workshop next to a car that Bugatti said could never be rebuilt outside their factory. Almost ready to run. Cut to the broken Chiron. Carbon fiber, dust on everything. The front end completely destroyed. The quarter panel crushed into the fender so hard there is no gap between them anymore. Dried coolant caked white across the engine bay. Wiring hanging in sections. A damage report that 3 separate mechanics laughed at when they read it. Cut to Bugattis rushing past on a track. 1,600 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. 261 miles per hour. The most extreme road car ever built by human hands. Now look at this one. Sitting on 4 flat tires in a Miami workshop. Copart Salvage Title. Been blacklisted by its own manufacturer. And I am about to show you every single broken piece of it. And then I'm going to show you what we did about every single one of them. Because this is not just a rebuild story. This is the story of a no that became the most public challenge to manufacturer control in automotive history. And it starts right here. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. A lot. But flying to Miami to help rebuild a Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport that the insurance company literally signed off as unfixable. One of 60 ever made on this planet. With a Copart salvage title, a locked VIN, and a manufacturer actively working against us. That is either the best decision I have ever made or the one that finally breaks me. $1.9 million at auction. If this carbon fiber monocoque is compromised beyond repair, we have just bought the world's most expensive paperweight. Let me show you what we are actually dealing with. Come with me. Right here, this is the front end, or what is left of it. The hood is gone. Completely gone. The fender on the driver's side is pushed so far into the quarter panel that I cannot get 3 fingers between them. The headlights are destroyed. The iconic Bugatti horseshoe grille that costs more than most people's cars is not here anymore. And the carbon fiber panels across the entire front section are cracked in ways that make very uncomfortable reading when you know what carbon fiber damage means on a structural level. Come around here. Engine bay. You see this white crust covering everything. That is dried coolant. 10.5 gallons of it. Oxidized. Ruined. Sitting in places coolant should never be allowed to reach, because coolant in the wrong place on a W16 is not a cleaning problem. It is a question about what else got compromised when it got there. Now get down here with me. This is the part that matters most. This is the carbon fiber monocoque, the structural spine of the entire car. And I need you to look at this section right here, because what you are seeing is damage that Bugatti said could only be properly assessed by their technicians. In their facility, with their equipment. We assessed it ourselves, with a flashlight, and a straight edge, and Bob, and what we found changed everything about where this build was going. Now, I need to take you back to the beginning of this chain. Because to understand why we are standing here doing this without any manufacturer support, without a service manual, without a single official Bugatti resource of any kind, you need to understand what actually set this in motion. Alex G already owned 2 Bugattis. 2. The relationship with the brand was real. The money was real. The contact was real. He wanted a Bugatti Mistral. 99 ever made. And somewhere inside that organization someone looked at Alex G, a man who had already spent millions with this brand, and made a decision. Not this time. Not this buyer. No explanation. No conversation. Just a quiet corporate no that registered as nothing more than a minor disappointment at the time. And then one of Alex's Bugattis crashed. And that crash is where the entire direction of this story changed. Because a car that was safely inside the controlled ownership ecosystem that Bugatti manages was now outside it. Damaged. Exposed. Moving through the salvage market towards somewhere Bugatti did not plan for and could not control. It landed at Copart. It went up for auction with a salvage title. And Alex bought it back. $1.9 million. For a car he already owned. Already crashed. already knew the full damage extent of, because Alex G was not finished with Bugatti, and Bugatti was about to find out exactly what that means. He called me. I flew to Miami, and now I'm going to walk you through every broken piece of this car and tell you exactly what we did about it, starting with the worst one. Come here, right here. This is the gearbox mounting bracket. Look at it. That is not a hairline crack. That is not surface stress. That is a cast structural component specific to this drivetrain and this architecture that has taken a hit. It was not designed to survive. You cannot order this part. You cannot find it in any aftermarket database anywhere on Earth. Bugatti makes it specifically for Bugatti cars. And Bugatti has locked this VIN from their entire global supply chain. Every dealership on the planet. Blocked. So I call Bob. And Bob flies in. And Bob looks at this bracket for about 4 seconds. 4 seconds. And says one word. Weldable. Not this presents significant engineering challenges. Now we need to assess whether this is even possible. Weldable. One word. And the entire room shifts. Because Bob is not guessing. Bob is not hoping. Bob is making a statement of engineering fact based on 30 years of understanding exactly what metal does when you ask it to perform under pressure. Watch what happens next. He preheats the material, every step in exactly the right sequence. No shortcuts, no approximations. He welds it with a precision that I am watching in real time and still find almost difficult to process. Fills every casting void, checks every dimension, and then he does something I have never seen anyone do on any build on this channel before. He stamps his actual name on the repair. Right there, on a structural repair to a Bugatti Chiron gearbox bracket. Because Bob is that certain in the quality of what he has just done. Bob just signed a Bugatti, and it is stronger now than when it left the factory in Molsheim. But we are not done, because the chassis leg is next, and the chassis leg is worse. Come over here. This section right here. Damage beyond what welding alone can solve. This requires fabrication from raw material. No factory blueprint. No official specification document. No Bugatti guidance of any kind. Just photographs. Measurements taken from the car itself. And Bob with a piece of 60mm aluminum stock and a lathe. I watch him work for 4 hours. For full hours. Building a structural component for one of the most complex cars ever made from nothing. No drawings. No reference beyond the damaged original, and his own understanding of what this piece needs to be to function correctly on this specific car under the stress loads a W16 generates. And when he is done, when he sets it down on the workbench and steps back, it does not look fabricated. It does not look like a workshop improvisation. It looks like it came off the Molsheim production line. Because when you are working at this level, there is no acceptable standard below factory. Factory is the floor, and Bob does not work below the floor. But the physical repairs are only half the problem. Because Bugatti did not just block the part supply. They built this car to exist inside a specific ecosystem. Authorized dealers. Factory, trained technicians. Official diagnostic tools that communicate with the car systems in ways that third-party equipment cannot fully replicate. When you rebuild a car like this outside that ecosystem, you are not just solving mechanical problems. You are solving information problems. Why does this system behave this way? What is this fault code actually telling you versus what the display says? What part number crosses to what alternative when the official supply chain is completely closed? This is where the method that Aston Martin's own technicians said taught them things their manufacturer training never covered becomes the difference between a car that runs and a car that sits. Now what do I order? Why does this exist? What else shares this engineering? What replaces it when the authorized route closes permanently? That method is why a Halford's fuse fixed a Veyron gearbox fault. That method is why Honda Civic radiator cores are now sitting inside this Chiron. That method is why Audi A3 airbags fit this car's deployment system perfectly. And that method is why a man with no factory authorization, no official support, and no service manual is closer to completing this rebuild than Bugatti's own public position on Salvage Title cars suggested was possible. Now here is where the dopamine starts hitting, because this is where the build turns. We get the electrical systems sorted section by section, and I hit the headlight switch. They come on, both of them, full beam, in a Miami workshop at 11 o'clock at night, flooding the whole space with light. And I shout, out loud, like an absolute idiot, because that is what this build does to you. Every small win feels enormous, because you know what it took to get there. The trunk. I get the rear latch working and pop it. It opens with that soft hydraulic movement that only a car built at this level produces. And I just stand there for a second listening to it. Yeah, this car is coming back. Now we are at the moment that everything has been building toward. And I need you to understand the full weight of what this moment actually means. Not just for this build. Not just for AlexG getting back a car he crashed and bought back from Copart for nearly $2 million. For every person who has ever been told by a manufacturer that their product cannot be maintained without permission, at the manufacturer's price, through the manufacturer's authorized channels, or not at all. This moment is the answer to that. Battery charged, 10.5 gallons of fresh coolant in the system, fuel system primed. Bob standing right there, because if anything behaves unexpectedly in the next 60 seconds, the person we trust most needs to be in this room. Alex gets in, hand on the start button. The workshop goes completely silent. Every person in this room knows what is sitting behind this moment. The Mistral rejection that started the chain. The crash that sent a 1 of 60 hypercar to Copart. The locked VIN. The CEO DM. The garbage bin chassis split. Bob's name stamped on a gearbox bracket. Honda Civic cores where Bugatti radiators used to be. For hours of watching Bob fabricate from raw aluminium what Bugatti said required their factory. All of it. Right here. Right now. Alex pushes the button. The starter cranks. The fuel pump winds up loud. The W16 turns over and there's a single cough from somewhere deep in that engine bay. One cough. And then silence. It does not catch. The gauges flicker. Drop. The workshop stays completely quiet. Nobody moves. Nobody says a word. Alex pulls his hand back, looks at the dashboard, then looks at me. And I look at Bob. Bob is already thinking, already running through the sequence of what to check. Because that is what Bob does. He does not panic. He diagnoses. And I look at Alex. And I say the only thing that makes sense right now. Try it again. Hand goes back to the button. And here's what I need you to understand about this second attempt. This is not just a car trying to start. This is a manufacturer's definition of impossible being tested in real time. This is a no that AlexG received years ago about a Bugatti Mistral being answered by a W16 firing in a Miami workshop without a single official Bugatti resource. This is Bob's name on that gearbox bracket, either holding or not. This is the Honda Civic cores either flowing coolant through a hypercar engine or not. This is every single decision made in this build across 14 months in 2 countries being validated or questioned in the next 10 seconds. Alex pushes the button. The starter cranks. The fuel pump screams. And you are coming back for part 2. I know exactly how that feels, and I am completely at peace with it. Because what happens in the next 30 seconds of that engine bay is the most earned moment in the history of this channel. And I am not rushing it. Not for anyone. You have followed this chain from a quiet rejection to a Copart salvage title to Bob stamping his name on a Bugatti. Wait one more video. And here's what I will tell you right now while you are waiting. Bugatti is watching. They have been watching this entire time. The CEO knows. The organization knows. This is not an underground garage project. This is one of the most watched automotive rebuild series on the internet. And their response to all of it has been silence. That silence is not ignorance. Silence in a situation this visible is a decision. And every single day that passes without them responding is another day this car gets closer to running. And once this W16 fires and stays running, that silence becomes the loudest thing Bugatti has ever said. Because it means they watched, they calculated, and they decided that a man with no factory authorization, no official parts, and no service manual completing the rebuild they said was impossible was something they could not respond to. That is the chain that started with a no about a Mistral, and ended with a yes that Bugatti never authorized. If you think what Alex and I and Bob have done here makes us legends for even attempting it, hit subscribe right now. If you think spending $1.9 million at Copart on a blacklisted Bugatti and then rebuilding it without a single official resource while the manufacturer watches in silence is the most gloriously unhinged thing you have ever seen on this platform, hit subscribe anyway, because you need to be here when that engine fires. And you need to see Bugatti's face when it does. Part 2 is coming, and the sound this car makes is going to change the conversation permanently.